What's up, LTD addicts? Let's talk about Project.co. This is a project management tool designed to make communicating with your clients and your coworkers easier and more efficient. A new lifetime deal just hit AppSumo earlier today, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the tool so you understand how to use it and decide if it's a good investment for your business. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm Dave from that LTD.life, where I review software tools with lifetime offers. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell to get notified when new reviews are posted. Let's jump on over to AppSumo. Here is the deal page for Project.co. This is $49 and you can stack up to 10 codes. Let's see what you're going to get for your money here. That's a lot of code stacking going on. So this is pretty simple here to understand. So all plans are mapped to the Project.co's small plan. So that's an important distinction. We'll talk about that more in a second. And with each code, you're going to get 10 additional users and 25 additional gigabytes of file storage. All of the other features are unlimited. So it says you're going to get a custom domain name. I would like to talk about that in a moment as well. And you can also have your own custom branding. Some important things is you do get unlimited projects, unlimited tasks, and unlimited external users, which you can use for clients. So really the important thing here is how big is your internal team? Are you going to have more than 10 users? If so, you want to start thinking about additional codes. If you go all the way up here to 10 codes, you're going to get 100 users. So it's 10 users per code. Okay, first things first, let's talk about this mapping. So we're going to be mapped to the small plan. Now, if I just head right over to the Project.co website and look at their pricing, you can see that they actually have 3 different plans. Now, first of all, you can have a free forever account. So if you have less than 3 members of your team, say it's you and a couple of partners that do some digital marketing for people, you're good. You can just use their free plan. You only get 1 gigabyte of storage, but you can always use Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. So if you need more than 3 users, you can jump up to their small plan, which is what we're getting with AppSumo. And even if you stack additional users, you're going to get more storage. You're going to get more users with additional codes, but you're not going to be moved to one of their other pricing tiers. Now, I think that's an important thing to note because while all features are included right now for all plans, chances are that a year from now, things might not be that way. Again, that's just speculation, but companies tend to add products to other pricing tiers, right? To make them more, to incentivize their customers to upgrade to maybe their medium plan or their higher end plan. So just keep that in mind. Right now, this is a great deal because you're getting all of the features. However, it is possible that maybe they'll add some more advanced features in later that will be desirable to you, and then you'll have to leave your LTD behind and upgrade to a medium or large tier. So that's important to note. Other thing I wanted to go talk about right off the bat is the custom domain name. So when I hear custom domain name, I'm thinking I can map this to a subdomain on my primary domain. So I could have something like projects.clientamp.com, ClientAmp being the name of my digital marketing agency. However, that is not the case. If I log into my Project.co account, really all I'm getting is a custom domain name from them, right? So it's clientamp.project.co. Maybe not the end of the world here. However, just maybe slightly misleading because when you see custom domain name, you're not thinking you're getting a subdomain of their primary domain. I think in most cases, that's what people think. All right, that said, let's get into the tool. I see there is a Workspace setup wizard, and let's go through that together. All right, so the first thing it wants me to do is upload a profile photo. So let me go ahead and find that. All right, there is my profile photo. I'll hit the next step. Now it wants me to create groups. It says groups are used to categorize people within your team. It's common to create groups for every team within your business. For example, copywriting, design, support, sales. Once you've created, you can filter tasks, people, and time by groups. All right, that sounds good to me. I'll go ahead and set up my groups. All right, I've got my groups added here. I've added copywriting, video production, web development, paid traffic, and graphic design. For my use case, I'm going to stay away from things like support and sales, as I generally keep those cordoned off from project management tools. They kind of have their own management systems that we have in place. All right, let's go ahead and hit next step and see what they have me do next. Okay, so next they want me to create project statuses. It says that project statuses set custom stages for your projects. It's common to create stages that mirror the process your projects go through, such as brief, copyright, design, and internal review. Each project status has a name, a background color, and a text color, and these the status bubbles in lists and other layouts. Drag and drop these to reorder the statuses. So my first thought here is I don't have a project status or a workflow that would work for graphic design as well as, say, video production. There's obviously different project statuses. So I'm hoping that this is kind of a generic product status, and then for each group, I could go ahead and maybe set a custom project status. I don't know if it's that flexible, but we'll find out. Okay, so I went ahead and added some project statuses. It's important to note that you cannot change the open and close status. That is there by default, and you cannot remove it or edit the name of it. The statuses that I chose to add are in progress, ready for review, awaiting revision, and approved. Let's go ahead and see what the next step is. All right, so the next step is all about payment settings, and it looks like it's asking me if I want to accept payments in this workspace. So you can link this up to a Stripe or a Sage Pay account. Now I'm gonna skip this step for now just because I don't want to go through the trouble of linking it up with Stripe, but if I need to go back and set that up to fully explain the product, then we'll have to do that later. Now it's asking me if I'd like to record time. Now I don't generally track time, but I think for this purpose, let's go ahead and turn that on. It says you can record time for each internal user on a per project basis. Time can be recorded based on the number of hours worked on each project per user, group, or date. All right, in this next setting, it says your workspace settings, and it's asking me to choose a group. Now, these are one of the groups that I chose before. Now, I kind of oversee all of these, so I'm not sure exactly what it wants me to do, but I'll go ahead and choose copywriting. And it says add projects to by default. I'll choose no there. Select task background. Okay, these are probably fine. The colors are fine for now. All right, it says, congratulations, I have set up my workspace. How exciting. Looks like I could actually leave a reply here. This links up to their intercom. So we'll go ahead and close that out, and let's get right into figuring out how to actually use this tool to manage some projects. So one of the most important parts about using any project management software is understanding their organizational system. How do they expect you to be organizing your projects? And in project.co, it's actually a really, really simple system, one of the most basic I've seen on any of these tools. And it's simply a project is organized into series of tasks. And that's it. There's no other subcategories or sublists within tasks or things like that. So it's very, very clean and simple. Possibly too simple. Sometimes these things get too convoluted, and you have folders within folders within folders, and it gets hard to conceptualize where everything is going. This is the other way around. It's very simple. So here are a list of all of the projects that I'm assigned to. You can see over in the left-hand column here, I have a series of icons. Right now, I'm on the project settings, and then right here, I have my projects. I can also view all of the projects across the account right here, where it says all projects. Now, there's only the two default projects that they give you, and I'm assigned to both of them. So they're showing the same information here. Then there's a little divider here, and then I have list view and Kanban view. So these are two different ways to view the same information. You shouldn't expect the info to change between, say, my projects in list view and my projects in Kanban view. I'll just simply see those statuses that I set up in the setup wizard we just saw a few moments ago. So when I'm in Kanban view, I can see things are open, in progress, ready for review, awaiting revision, and approved, those settings that I set up. So I could literally drag an entire project through step by step as things progress along. All right, so that's fairly simple. I don't know how useful a Kanban view is for a project other than to say, like, we're working on it, because usually projects have several steps. So it'd be pretty odd, I think, to go from, like, once everything is done, I guess you can submit it for review. But typically, projects have steps in them, things that need to get completed. Let's say you do an outline, and before you move to the composition phase of the project, the outline has to be approved by the client. So this Kanban view, in most cases, probably not as practical for entire projects. It would be more useful for a task view, which we'll see in a little bit here. Okay, so before we go ahead and move to the next stage of the navigation, let's see what it looks like to create a project from scratch. I'll go over here and hit create new project. And let's see, this opens up. It's a little bit sluggish to open up. It's not too terribly slow, but it's certainly not instantaneous. So it says, what type of project would I like to create? Oh, this is interesting. So I can create internal projects that are viewable only by the team. And I can also do external projects where I can invite clients. Well, let's go ahead and we'll do both. I'll start with an internal project and I can see whether this is private or public. Oh, that's cool. So this might be good if you're doing like a public roadmap or something like that. I could see that being useful. I'll set this to private for now, and I'll choose a team. It looks like I have to choose actually a team member who I'd like to invite to this project. Okay, great. I will choose myself and go to next. And let's give this a project name. Let's say website copy revision. I need to update the words on my website. We'll leave the project details blank for now. And I could upload a file here if I wanted, but I'll go ahead and create the project. Great. Now you can see the, well, it looks like they're asking me to add some tasks, which I will do here in a bit. But let's take a look at the project details page here. I can see the date it was created. It's currently set to open. It's an internal project, and there is the name. Okay, so from here, I could go ahead and start adding tasks. There's a couple of tabs here that we can kind of thumb through. So there's discussion. You could discuss the project with other team members or clients as well if this were a client project. I can create notes. Now it's interesting that the notes section is private. So even if you added clients to this, they would not be able to see the notes. It's not a place where you can converse. That would be in the discussion tab. Notes is meant for your internal team to communicate. Under tasks, this is where you're going to start to break up that project into a series of accomplishable things. So let's say I created a new task here for my website copy revision, and I'll say outline changes needed. And let's see, I can add this to the copywriting group. And again, it's a private task and it's set to open. Let's go ahead, and I would actually set a date here where I wanted it to be completed by. So let's say, oh, I want to get that done by tomorrow. All right, created a task, and there we go. Now I can see that task has been added. Let's go ahead and add just one more task. So we have a couple to work with right here, and I'll say homepage copy. Great, and let's get that done. How about on Friday? So let's change the dates to starting and ending on Friday. It's assigned to me. And again, those other settings are just fine. Well, it looks like I need to set something correct here, which is to assign it to the copywriting team. I'll go ahead and hit OK. All right, there we go. Now I've got two tasks, one for this Thursday and then one for Friday. Let's go ahead, and I've got the internal users as the next setting here. It says system error. That's interesting. Let's see what happens if I do that again. Am I locked out here? I'll go back into my projects. Here's the website copy revision. And I will, let's go ahead and hit internal users. There we go. Now it displays the correct internal users, and I could actually add an additional user right here. So just a little bug there. And then we also have time tracking right here. Now the time tracking feature, a little bit underdeveloped, I guess, at this point, because essentially all you're doing is you're setting how much time this is going to take you, right? So I think, this will take me a total of 10 hours. And only the copywriting team is going to be on this. So I've allocated 10 hours from the copywriting team, and then you'd go in and you'd enter in how much time you actually recorded. But there's no tool. You can't like use a desktop app to, say, all right, I'm working now, and then have it automatically report into the system. All time tracking is done manually at this point. And that is one of those features I would expect that they beef up a little bit in the future, and hopefully it's included in the AppSumo plan, but there's no real way to say for sure. It might be, a paid extra feature or something like that. These companies have to monetize some way, so I'm not necessarily against that. Obviously, you can't just give away everything forever, but let's go ahead and actually show you how you'd add time here. So if we go back out to the main icons here on the left, if you go down to time, then you can actually record a time entry, and they're popping up these little alerts to teach me how to use the tool, but you can record a time entry right here. So let's say I had just spent 1 hour on that inside of the copywriting group, and I did it, today, and I hit OK. Then I should see, there we go, 1 hour recorded. And if I go back to that project now, let's click into this one. Now I should see down in time that I've actually used 1 hour. So you can see how this is somewhat useful if you're fairly good at staying on task and you're not jumping from project to project, or going and checking Facebook for 15 minutes and then coming back to work. You really have to be focused on doing the tasks that you're supposed to be doing, and then also remembering to record it inside the app. So that's a lot to ask for me anyway. I tend to just go hard at things and get them done and don't really worry about tracking the time. It's more about the results in the end, right? All right, so here is the project settings, the last section here, which is where you can change the track statuses for this project. So perfect, that's exactly what I wanted in that setup. So maybe for this particular type of project, which is a copy project, I would want to do something like outline, and we'll hit OK there. And then I would want to, it looks like I need to change the color to make it a little prettier. Okay, so I went ahead and added some custom statuses that might be more appropriate to copywriting. I've got an outline, a first draft, a revision, and a final delivery. Again, those first status and the last status cannot be changed, the open and complete. Now, what is interesting to me is that I would probably use this every time I had a copywriting job, because this is pretty much the workflow that I go through. So I'm wondering, is there a way that I can save this and reuse it in a later project? Or maybe there's a way to duplicate projects. I'll definitely want to check that out. So let's go ahead and look back at the tasks view here. And now while I'm looking at tasks, I can actually cycle through different views here. So in the project mode, we looked at list view and Kanban view, which I should now see in the Kanban view, my outline, first draft, and all of that. So let's say I'd completed the this is a website copy revision. Interesting. Okay. Strange to me that it's showing the project name in large letters here rather than the task. So it actually fooled me at first, thinking I'd label something wrong. So this is homepage copy. Let's say I had completed the outline of the homepage copy and it said the task order cannot be completed. All right. So things are a little bit buggy here still with this tool. See, I'm getting quite a few errors. But let's say I moved this over and got the outline done for this, and then added it to the first draft. You can see how we're getting that error again, no method requested. So quite a few errors popping up here. That's a little bit frustrating, but you get the overall process. The other two views that we can see are the calendar view, which is going to show me the tasks when they're assigned to be completed, as well as the scheduler view. All right, here is the scheduler, where you can see the days that things are assigned to be worked on. And I could actually maybe drag this out a little bit to say, okay, this is actually going to be worked on over 3 days, and I'm actually going to start it up on the 22nd, things like that. So I think that's actually a fairly cool way to do things. The project management tool that I typically use is called ClickUp, and it doesn't have a feature like that. You have to kind of go through a typical drop down where you're setting the dates every time you want to change something, and gets a little bit tedious. So I like this aspect of being able to view it on a calendar and kind of just move things through. Looks like there's an option to hide empty rows. Let's see what that looks like. It doesn't really do anything. Add an additional row here. Maybe if there was other tasks or other people who had things assigned to them, I could hide that. That probably is what that is related to. Okay, so inside of the project, you have the categories that we've already talked about. Your discussion, which is your internal chat with or actually not internal, but it could be with your clients as well as your internal team. Notes, which is notes for your internal team. Clients cannot see this. Tasks is where you divide the project up into manageable bite-sized actions. We can add new users right here, or see who is assigned to the project. You can see how much time has been used. Again, you have to kind of jump through a few hoops, go back to the time setting here to enter time. It'd be nice if they just had a button to enter it in right here. And then project settings is where we can set up those custom project statuses. Now, my big question is, can I reuse those project statuses, or is it possible to create, say, a template project? And maybe I could clone one of these somehow. It doesn't look like that at all. That would definitely be a must-have feature for me, because we have standard operating procedures. If we're going to make a website or do some SEO work for somebody, we go through the same steps each time. So it makes sense in the project management system to have a template we can just duplicate and customize to fit that customer's particular use case, but we don't want to recreate the wheel every time. So creating a brand new project from scratch is definitely a bit of a deal breaker. All right, the last few things here, we have a task view where you can, rather than viewing tasks by project, so having to be in your, going over here to the project mode and being in the project, you can just view all tasks, or either all tasks assigned to you or all tasks for your entire team. Then you can also view that in the other views we've talked about, the calendar, scheduler, and Kanban view. Let's go ahead and take a look at the people settings here. So this is important. This is where we're going to be able to add new users and set up their permissions. So by default, I've just got myself, and then there's 3 users set up by project.co. However, they're not counting against my plan. This still says 1 out of 10 active users. So here are the settings that are involved. Now this button over here on the right is to delete the user, so I will not be clicking that for myself. There's a little gear icon here where I can go ahead and set some more preferences. Now notably, the group setting here is blank. I did set that up in the Workspace setup. I set it to copywriting, I believe, but it doesn't reflect that here. So that's interesting. Add to project by default. These settings were all how I set them. I could deactivate myself. Let's say I am leaving the company, or one of your employees is leaving the company. You'd be able to deactivate them there. Now there is some role settings where I can go under role. Currently I'm set to account owner. It says that I have full access to this workspace, including the ability to edit all settings. You can also have managers and team members. So managers can do everything in the team. This role can also see and invite new users, delete time entries and comments. So that's interesting. You definitely wouldn't want to, if you're having, like, say, some virtual assistants working for you, you don't want them to have the ability to edit or delete the time entries, maybe sabotage a coworker or something terrible. Then you also have team settings here where they can access all public projects in the workspace, and they can edit project details and tasks. So that'd probably be your typical kind of employee setting right there. Let's see what other options are available. I can set myself to, it says, what kind of person is Dave? Well, I'd say a good person, but a client, a contractor, or a team member. And the different settings here is that clients only have access to projects created for their company. Contractors are a limited access member of your team. They can only access tasks or data. So it's good to know that there is some segmentation. That was definitely a concern for me, because I do have some contractors that are only assigned to work on certain clients, and I want to keep everything else private just for security reasons. So it's nice to see that's built in. And a normal team member will be able to view all projects on your team. So that would be, the typical employee that's going to access everything. Then we also have a file sharing option. Now this is pretty basic. They do say that this is, they like to pop up these little messages on intercom. I don't find those super great. But the file settings here are pretty simple. You can go ahead and add a file here. I'll just upload one of my images. Whoops, looks like that didn't actually upload. Let's see how to do the upload. Let's see, files not found. Please upload a file. Well, there's no upload button. That's definitely a problem. It says, please upload a file on a project to see it here. So I can't actually just upload the file directly to the file setting and then expect there to be a way to share it. So it's not like a cloud sharing folder. That's a little bit of a bummer in my mind. But let's go ahead and add a file to the project that I just created. Here is the website copy revision that we did. Let's see, how do I add a file here? I'll click on Edit Project Details, and I can go ahead and add a file under the project details. Let's see. All right, I hit save. I chose the file I wanted. I hit save. Nothing really happens. Okay, there it did. It did attach eventually. It just wasn't indicating anything was being uploaded. So let's go over to files here, and I should see, there we go. There's that one file. The file name is very nondescriptive. That's not the name of the file that I uploaded. So it looks like it amended it with the date. That was not on the actual file name. So that's interesting. It's 2 megabytes in size. Now, can I view it? I cannot. So I'm not super clear what the point of this setting is, other than I can delete the file from here. So I could remove it, maybe to free up some space. But that's a little frustrating. I definitely would like to be able to view the files and maybe have a public sharing link from that file. That would make this section much more useful. We've already looked at the time settings, and the last thing really to review is the reporting. Now, I haven't mentioned there is a invoicing part of this, but I did not set up Stripe, so it's not giving me the option to invoice. Maybe I'll do that here in a second. So I want to demonstrate invoicing for you. So I'm going to go ahead and link up to my Stripe account. Now the task is, how do I get into those settings? Let's go ahead and dig around a little bit. I'm going to go up to my icon. It says Workspace settings here. And let's see, this will be all of the information we set up. It looks like all of the information plus a little bit more that we set up in the wizard, because we've got the plans here, which I assume is kind of this is my AppSumo plan. We can see I'm on the small plan. Then we've got domains, and this would be where I could, oh, look at this. You can add a CNAME. This is one of my gripes from earlier in the video. They didn't actually indicate anywhere in the setup process that you could create your own CNAME. This is the first I've seen. You actually have to dig into the settings to do this. So I could set this up to be projects.clientamp.com, which would actually be a lot more attractive to me than having it under their main domain name. So I apologize for earlier in the video correcting that. I'll make sure to leave a note. So it looks like this is fairly simple to do. You just enter your custom domain name, and then you'll enter a CNAME record in your DNS settings, and you'll be good to go. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but it is really good to know that it's here. Invoice info. Let's see what that is all about. This is the info that will show up on the invoices you send when you enable payments, which remember I turned off in the beginning. Branding. Now, that was one thing that was on my mind. How come I haven't had a chance to set up the branding? I expected to do that in the setup process. However, I was never given the option to do so. So here I can set the application logo, internal project image, as well as the favicon. So let me go ahead and upload some images here. All right, I went ahead and uploaded my images, and you can see right here, I've now got my logo in the corner. And let's see, if I go back to my projects, I would assume that I will now have my logo next to my internal project right there. So that's great. If I were to set up a new company for a new client, their logo would show up alongside, and that would be a way to organize things. Maybe I just want to see all of the projects for a particular company. I'd be able to sort right here using the filter to drill down. So that is a really nice feature. I like that quite a bit. All right, but we didn't accomplish our task. I got distracted. Let's go back to the workspace settings here, and let's go through and just kind of see, make sure I didn't miss anything. I eventually want to get down here to payments. So we just checked out branding. Let's see what groups is all about. This is going to be the groups we set up in the wizard. Tax rates. This is for your invoicing, so you can set up custom tax rates if you need to collect taxes. Task type. So we've seen already that it's asked me if I want to create private or public tasks. You can also add your own type of task right here. This is basically an additional way to filter things, because you can set the task type as a filter when you're going through in the main projects view. You'll be able to filter out by task type. Task status. We've already seen this. This is where you say open, in progress, or complete. It's interesting that these are different than the statuses I created in the wizard. That's not carrying over. Project statuses. I see. The project statuses and the task statuses are different. That is important to note. Now, as I've already mentioned in this video, I would like to, first of all, that wasn't clear in the setup how that was going to go, but I would like to have different task statuses depending on the tasks that are repeatable. And that is just not possible so far. So far, you need to set it up on a project basis. Payments, this is the section we wanted to get to. This is where we can actually enable payments. So I'm going to go ahead and take payments on this workspace, and then I'll need to link it up to Stripe. And let me go ahead and do that off screen here. So I've been able to successfully link up my Stripe account. Let's go ahead and check out how this invoicing feature works. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project because I only have an internal one so far, and I don't want to bill myself. So let's do external, and we'll make this private. I don't know that I want the public to see what I'm billing for my work. I'll choose private here. I did click that, but it looks like it didn't go through. There we go. Now I can choose a client. Here's the existing ones. I was just messing around a second ago, and I added Apple as an option, but we can see how easy it is here to add another client. So I'll choose Google, or actually I suppose it's Alphabet right now, right? And their website is, I don't know if it's alphabet.com or what, but we'll just say Google right now. And then I'll have to actually add members of their team in order to be able to, keep them up to date. So I'll just say employee Google, and I'll give them an email address of employee@google.com. All right, now. Oh, I didn't enter a company, so I needed to do that. All right, great. Now I've added a new user here named employee Google, and I could choose what internal team member is going to be on it. All right, great. I've got my new project all set up. I'll create the project like revise search engine. All right, so I'm going to fix Google's search engine, and I could upload a file here. I'll go ahead and create a new project. Great. Now, if I wanted to actually invoice them, what I do is, you'd set up and you complete your work. And then at the time you're ready to bill them, you would create a payment right over here. And you just choose add payment. And let's say, it was $1,000, payment description, excuse me. We'd say fix SERPs. And we'll go ahead and bill them $10,000 for that. That's a big job. And it doesn't include tax. And there we go. I've added the payment. Now, hopefully no one at Google actually gets this and then pays me and I get into big trouble. So right now I can mark this delete, mark this paid, or I'll go ahead and delete it if I want. And I will actually do that. I don't need to have that billing sit around here, but you get the point. That's as simple as billing is. The employee, or the company would receive a message that billing was due. When they log in, they'll see a very similar screen to this, except instead of having the option to mark as paid, they could actually go ahead and just pay it right there through your Stripe account. So pretty nice integration. I think that's slick and simple. Personally, I like to keep project management and billing separate. I think they're two very different things, and often the people who are working on the projects don't need to be involved in the billing system, right? So if you have an employee that does production work, they don't always even are involved at all in the sales or numbers process of it. So I would like to kind of keep that separate personally. That's why I opted to have this off by default. Just probably a personal strategy, the way that I like to run my company, but it probably would work better for a freelancer or someone who's doing everything all by themselves. So that is everything that is included with Project.co. Now it's time for my final thoughts. I think this is a decent project that's just getting off the ground. It definitely has the legs to turn into a pretty good project management tool. However, there's too much that's missing for me right now to go all in on it. For 49 bucks, it's probably worth a code and just kind of hanging on to it in the background, because these tools can get pretty expensive. If you look at something like Asana, you're going to be, and Asana is a very popular, similar type of tool. If you had a team of 10 members, you're going to be looking at $20 a month. Now you're going to get a lot more features here. If you can go to their regular premium plan, you can be looking at $10 a month times 10 users. That's $100 a month. So it's going to get fairly expensive comparative to the $49 one-time fee. So from that point of view, it's a pretty good value. I am still skeptical. They might add the features that we really need to make this, worthwhile, and add that to another billing plan, like recurring tasks, or maybe the ability to have templates for projects. I could see them saying, okay, that's a middle tier project, and then you have to update. So it'd be cool to have a really clear plan of what's coming on a roadmap. However, I'm always skeptical of buying on roadmaps too. So really, there's a lot up in the air here. If you've got 49 bucks and you just want a really simple way to manage your projects, it's probably not the worst thing in the world. However, Asana or ClickUp, any of these project management tools usually have a free version that gets things done. You can see you have up to 15 members over here with Asana for free. And if I go over to ClickUp, let's see what they offer for free as well. I know they have a free plan. It looks like unlimited users. They just have restrictions on the integrations and reporting and extra features that are included for ClickUp. So I think those are two really worthwhile, much more mature platforms to look at alongside of Project.co. I wouldn't dismiss it completely. However, the bugs that kind of came up recurring throughout this review definitely leave me a bit concerned. So I'm going to give this one a 6.3. I think it's an okay application. It has some potential in the future. However, it's just not ready for prime time yet. If you're going to go ahead and make a purchase over at AppSumo and you were influenced by this review, I'd greatly appreciate it if you click the link in the description. That is the referral link for this channel, which means it kicks us back a little bit of funds if you do go ahead and make a purchase at AppSumo. I had some questions about the referral link. Yes, you can use it even if you're already an AppSumo user. We still get credits for return purchases, so I do appreciate you using that each and every time that you go ahead and make a purchase. That'd be really helpful. And if you have any questions, comments, maybe I've missed the mark on this review, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Definitely let me know what's on your mind. If you like the video, make sure you hit like so I know you appreciate the content, and I'll see you in the next review.